once you decide you're going all in, like it's good to consider what it's going to take. Like you really do have to consider, okay, if I'm going to do this next challenge that I'm wanting to do, what are the implications, and get some advice from people who've been there and done that. Once you've figured all that stuff out, then you make your decision, and then from there it's not going back.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And I was going to say Jeff when you hear this episode, but it's not Jeff anymore. I can't remember who took over Amazon. I just want to say that order that you promised this morning before 8 o'clock ain't here. And
jacked up your whole day, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm just, and here's why. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole too much because it's a whole nother world. We were talking about this morning in one of my business groups about AI, and folks, this is real. Otis, that's Sam over there, and that's Camden over there. There ain't no bot.
Sam's the only way you can tell it's real because there's 440 hours of you and I out there on video. We can AI this thing.
Oh shit! I had somebody email me, those old
David, you missed the 2-minute mark on swearing.
Yeah, dadgummit.
You had a C- for today, Dad.
Yeah, all right. Well,
it would be harder to make an AI person of me on the boat, when I'm guiding out there, because talking head behind, in front of a computer, no problem.
Yep.
But showing people reeling in big fish and all that kind of stuff, that's going to take a while.
Well, I was kind of half hoping you might call us in from the boat today, but I guess the internet connection ain't that good out there, is it?
Yeah, and also, too, when you're going up and down on the boat, people don't like to see that in the background.
Yeah, I can tell you that my mom, would not watch the show 100% because of how seasick she can get. So, yeah, she'll do a river cruise, but ain't going out on the water. So,
you gonna walk her through YouTube also?
We got
a few more hurdles on the way to that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true too. I don't think she's got it.
You can tell your mom it's mind over matter, because my mom, normally when she'd come out, if she saw a wake of another boat, she'd be like, "Ooh, it's getting a little rocky." I'm like, "Mom, this is just the wake of the other boat. We haven't even gone out, of the harbor." And then one day she decided she wanted some friends to come out on the boat, and we had very large swells out there. Like they were probably 8 to 10 feet. And I'm like, "Mom,
geez.
There's no chance at all that you're going to be able to survive out there. I don't care if you put on 3 patches." She didn't put on any patches, didn't take anything, just was determined that she wasn't going to get sick, and she did not get sick. So she went from being completely sick or not sick, but just feeling uneasy about, smaller waves or wakes, to going out in very large swells, and all of a sudden everything was okay. She was determined She was not getting sick, and it's mind over matter.
Power of social pressure.
Exactly.
Well, I'll blame it on diesel fumes the last time I went out. So.
Oh, yeah. People blame it on coffee and bacon. And I'm like, what's the last time you puked after your coffee and bacon? I ate something. Something just isn't sitting right in my stomach. Okay. Is this a normal thing for you?
So is there a sailor secret? What is that? I mean, being a business coach, a executive coach, all that sort of stuff, I throw out those sort of things all the time, right? Oh, mind over matter. I mean, is it really mind over matter? Can you really do that?
To some extent you can. And we don't always know what happens in the brain, because, there's some things where you try and will yourself into. And then sometimes maybe it's because of just sheer determination. Like when you make the decision, this is what I'm doing, I don't care what the consequences are, all of a sudden something shifts in your brain. So I think it's from going to, I want to do this, but I'm not sure I can, but I really want to all of a sudden, I'm doing this no matter what. I don't care if I die. And then all of a sudden something shifts in your brain and things start happening in a different way than what you experienced before.
That
So,
reminds me. Go ahead.
yeah,
Did you have
I was
more?
going to say, I smoked from the age of 15 to 22, and I tried to quit smoking for 3 years from age 19 to 22. And I'd get around someone that was there was a friend that was smoking, and I just automatically would want to pick up a cigarette. I could do fine unless there was like, someone that I knew there who I normally hung out with, and all of a sudden something switched in my brain, and I was like, I couldn't resist. But one summer I was up guiding, and I guess I smoked more than usual, and again trying not to, but I finally got so upset at what I was doing. I just said, I'm never smoking again. And that was it. I never craved it. I never, never had that urge to pick up a cigarette.
Mm.
And so there's just something that can switch in your brain, and you can't teach that stuff. It's not like, you know, 10 steps to overcoming this. It's just once that switch happens in your brain where you're like, I'm not doing this anymore, all the desires somehow melt away.
I was gonna what I flashed back to was the exact opposite of it, and you touched on this with the cigarettes, is because I've been in the back of an Air Force airplane where all it took was one guy started it, and it was just the compound effect, like running out of barf bags on the on the airplane is that makes for some interesting exiting, let's just say. So,
I want to ask, and Sam, I'm sorry, I know this is not the right phrase to ask, the fishing guy talking about being out there on the boats. But what came to mind when you talk about that commitment is the burn the boats mentality of it. It's like, hey, I have to commit entirely to this thing.
yeah, he doesn't want to burn the boats.
I know. We might need to we'll workshop the phrase later, come up with a better one to burn the boats.
When you come up with something different.
But that mentality of it's like you have to completely cut it. You can't have the safety net because then there's something in the back of your mind that tells you I don't have to try all the way because I'm safe still. What are your thoughts on that? I know it's a big question. Sorry.
Yeah, it is a big question. I would say that once you decide you're going all in, like it's good to consider what it's going to take. Like you really do have to consider, okay, if I'm going to do this next challenge that I'm wanting to do, what are the implications, and get some advice from people who've been there and done that. Once you've figured all that stuff out, then you make your decision, and then from there it's not going back. So it's good though to first get all the information from people that have been there, done that, and they may not have experienced it the way that you want to experience it. So you might decide, hey, I want to experience this differently than these guys, but I also have talked to people that have, had to go through the struggles and overcoming the challenges, and this is the way they did it. I want to do it differently. But now at least you've got something to inform your decision for going forward that's based on a roadmap of success. And of course, you can slightly tweak your roadmap of success to be different. But yeah, once you are all in, then I don't know. It's again something that happens in your brain, I think. Hopefully, I answered your question there. It was a roundabout way to answer the question, I guess.
No, that's all right. Go ahead, Dad.
It works. Well, what I was wondering in that mindset thing, what was the catalyst maybe that you said, all right, I've been guiding, working for these other folks long enough. It's time to buy my own boat, start my own business, sort of thing.
The catalyst was I was going to university and wanted to pay for summer, and I guess it was in a sense in my head like a small enough thing, like it was just a small step. I wasn't planning to do it long term, but I loved it, and so I wanted to do something that was better than what I'd been doing. And I guess my personality or the way I'm wired is once I start down a road, I keep wanting to improve it. So it's not that I necessarily see the massive overarching vision, but I say like, hey, this would be a good direction to go in, and then it's it's just like let's keep improving one step at a time. And so that's really how I got from starting my sport fishing business when I was going to university, and uh, by the end of university, near the end of university, I was near the top of Google in just about every search term you could imagine. But I didn't start thinking to myself like, "Oh, this is where I'm going to go." I had no idea. In fact, that wasn't my plan at all. My plan was just to make enough money to pay for school. And in order to make enough money to pay for school, I needed to keep doing more and more and more and more things. And the next thing you know, boom, I got somewhere that I didn't expect. But I think
When it
it's the pursuit of excellence, really. Like I think we're all wired in some way for the pursuit of excellence, and then you have to figure out at some point, like, is my pursuit, getting me where I want to go? And if your pursuit isn't getting you where you got to go, then you got to adjust your thinking.
What I'm curious about there is it's interesting. You talk about like the incremental changes, kind of just like tinkering with it as you're building out the process, versus having like the end in mind and kind of working backwards. Which that's what a lot of people talk about. But as you were going there, I was thinking it's like, oh, is that two different schools of thought? Well, more so, I would say, Sam, I'd love to hear your opinion. It's almost like it's a personal taste. Like it's like hey, just does your brain work the way where you need to work backwards, or is your brain like I need to tinker with this thing and I'll just keep building and then I'll see what I'm going to build at the end of it. I don't even know yet. Do you think that goes down to personal taste? What have you seen with your clients in that different aspect?
Yes, I think so. I think some people need to see everything, right in front of them as a map, and then other people can just work with something that they've got. Like take Brian Dean, for example, who did Backlinko and ended up selling his company for millions. When he first started, he said, if I would have looked at the overall picture, I probably would have gotten freaked out and nobody would have given me advice to start this company and do what I did. But what did he do? He just made sure his process kept getting tweaked and more excellent, and he went all in on it. So it wasn't like he just, tinkered with it. He went all in a way, I went all in too with my business because I wanted it to succeed. So did I have that vision at the start? No, but the more I got into it, the more I'm like, oh, I've got to work harder. Oh, I've got to work harder to succeed, and success isn't negotiable for me. I have to get there.
So how did you measure that progress then? Because it's an interesting methodology to almost be in reaction mode in the development of what you're doing. So it's all right. I got to do this. What am I doing now? Oh, got to do that sort of thing. How do you measure that you're reacting in the right direction?
I think it comes really from the desire to, like, we all have a vision in some way. So for me, the vision was, getting out fishing. But in order to get out fishing with clients, obviously, in order to get out fishing with clients, I had to figure out the process of getting there. And it's not like I saw the thing that was going to get me there all the time. I just kept, trying to figure out each thing one at a time. And instead of like getting overwhelmed with all the things that I could, think about getting there, I just did focused on the one thing at a time and kept things fairly simple. So, and also compartmentalizing everything in a sense. Like for part of the season, I'm working on marketing, website. Part of the season, I'm really focused on building my boat the way I wanted to, because early on you got to figure out what kind of boat you want. And then for me, I bought one boat the first year, and then the next year I bought another boat that suited better. So just compartmentalizing each thing and then focusing on each thing at a certain point to build your success. And was it a method? I wasn't following anyone at that point. I've read lots of books since then about maps and all that kind of thing on how to get there. And when you're leading a team or, doing something much bigger, you have to have that map. When you're doing it yourself, it's not as crucial, but you also have to be somebody who gets out of bed in the morning, and whether or not you see exactly what you're doing, you're getting out of bed to keep going.
I'd love to drill in a little bit on that. You kind of joked, it's like I've read the book since then. You can kind of see things, retroactively. But I always think it's interesting because there are those two different schools of thought. We joke about the kid fresh out of college with the business degree, and it's like, oh, this is exactly how business should be run. They have no idea what the freaking real world is like. You also have people who were, bootstrapping it, don't understand what marketing is, but they have had a successful business for 10 years, right? You have these kind of weird miscongruencies there. When you look back on it, how do you, what kind of, I guess, like layers would you add to your path there? Because what I think about is like the kind of like school of hard knocks approach is you learn a lot of the real stuff, but then you can kind of miss more of the, like, I guess you would say like academic theory, a lot of those kind of big picture things that can be helpful in a business. Doesn't necessarily help keep the lights on, but it helps with the big picture stuff, right? Looking back, how would you kind of balance those two approaches?
So the thing that would have helped me is getting in touch with other people that had more established businesses and ask them more questions. So the marketing piece I have no regrets at all for my marketing piece. I think I did probably excelled or did better than I would have expected at the whole marketing piece. The thing that hung me up, and I spent too much time doing it first, was my equipment. So figuring out the boats and the quality of the boats and what's going to last long term. So because I came from a very poor family, and my dad always, had his tray of nuts and bolts that he would sift through and spend endless hours trying to find the right bolt. That kind of mentality. I had too much of that demonstrated for me. And even though I had grander visions, it still was hard to overcome that, looking in the bolt tray mentality to get, to the proper equipment. And so it took me probably 4 years, I would say, to get to the proper equipment, whereas I could have shortcutted the process, even with the amount of money I had.
I guess talking about shortcutting it there, this is the interesting thing to me is that it's like, okay, what does that happy medium look like? I know it's kind of going to be like pick an arbitrary thing here, but it's like doing that school of hard knocks for 4 years. All right, did it really need to be the 4 years? You could have done it in 2, get some of those hard knocks, but also do things a little smarter. Like, what does that aspect of it look like?
I think if you're talking to other people in your industry that are doing things, even if it's different than the way you want to go, you still need to talk to them. You still need to ask them questions about how they do their business and be able to learn from something they do. And instead of doing that, I was too afraid to talk to my competition, which is crazy. It's a human it's a human fault that we don't want to go talk to other people, because most of the time, like, they do their business, because of reasons maybe different than what we do our business for. Yes, they want to make money, but maybe they do it for importance, or they do it for one thing or another. Go talk to the person and see if they'll talk. And if they don't talk, then it's okay. Go find another person. So there's always people that will talk in business, because most business owners aren't just solely tied to their business outcome and see you as a threat. It's amazing how much people just want to be people and make new friends and make new contacts. So that's what I would say to people is get over that fear of talking to your competition and go make friends with them.
Yeah, I think it's the whole competition thing, and the other piece you were talking about earlier, and I just drew a blank on what made me think of this. Oh, the bolt tray, Dad's bolt tray, right? It's the scarcity versus abundance. And when we live in scarcity, that's when we're afraid of competition. But when we live in abundance, we know there's another way of doing this. There's no such thing as competition, because I can plant another apple tree to make more apple pies, and all these sort of metaphors that I always love using. Because I think the boat thing and buying equipment is a great example of all of us business owners, us founders, us entrepreneurs, where we'll skimp on something and pay for it later. I was having a chat with a veteran entrepreneur yesterday afternoon about that very same thing. And matter of fact, I was commenting because he's using a system, ADP, for payroll and HR stuff, which is a very pricey system. But he said, well, they were the best that, da 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 da. How did you intentionally shift out of that, the life, growing up in a scarcity mindset in the household as a kid, to, all right, it's okay to do more, have more, and the abundance attitude?
So I would say that it's a continual process because mirror neurons are very strong. So what we were modeled from our parents, it's the strongest. It's stronger than our peers. It's stronger than anything else. So I would say that it's not just one time that I got over it, or just okay, I got over it and now it's okay. I would say that it's something that I always have to check. I've got a Dutch background, so uh, you know, some people joke, okay, it's your Dutch, but I think that it's just
Genetic. They say it's in your DNA if you're Dutch, right?
it's in your DNA. I tend to think that it's more than that. There could be some truth to that, but I would say it's just was modeled for me all the way down. So I think it's a balance, because people can say, oh, I'm going to have the abundance mindset for my business, and they'll go spend money on completely useless things, and instead of
Trying to
spending
validate
money on the
that
things
mindset.
yeah, instead of spending money on the things that actually drive revenue or profitability. So, and what drives revenue and profitability can be obviously buying back your time. So it's not expensive office furniture or something else, that needs to be done. It's buying the right equipment to make sure that the job gets done, or having the right people in place. And so that's where all the focus and time needs to be spent, so that you build out your systems properly. Like in the case of accounting systems, if it saves you a bunch of time and it's always there on demand, and it doesn't, it saves you crucial time in your day when you're needing facts and figures, and doesn't frustrate you, because we want to stay in a positive mindset during the day when we're doing our business. So we need to have things rolling exactly the way that keeps us in that good frame of mind, and also keeps us moving forward. So yeah, I would say put first things first, like the things that really drive your engine. You've got to make sure those are in place, and make sure that they're the best you possibly can get, as far as what makes sense. We don't need a
Hmm.
Lamborghini to get us from A to B. We just need a smart car.
Yeah. I have a thought that popped into my head as we're continuing to talk about the scarcity and abundance. As a fisherman, you want to catch the fish, but as a guide, you're giving away the fish. And how do you see that same sort of uh, feeling as you've got a boat full of clients, and you ain't got a line in the water. You're worried about them. Have you do you feel that a little bit? How is that mental shift? Because I think that's where I'm going with it too. It's like, damn, I really want to help the dude that's coming in from Florida. I'm not a guide, and
Yeah.
Colorado State wildlife. I am not guiding people. I am hunting. And there's a dude coming from Florida, that's never killed an elk and paying a lot of money to get the license to kill an elk. Well, I want to help him do that. Talk us through with that fishing, going from being the fisherman to the guide.
Sure. So there's always the challenge to get fish in the boat for the other person, and I think for the client on the end. I think the way we're driven as humans is generally the guides that are the most successful first get the fish in for themselves, in the sense of like you want to see the boat have a boatload of fish at the end of the day, and you're very much driven to get that. And then secondarily, we want to see the clients have fun. So I think that there's got to be that competitive edge. I've found that if I get a guide that isn't competitive, it's not that they can't be successful, it's that it takes a lot longer, like, to get them there. Like, guides that are super competitive, maybe in year 2 or 3 they start producing really good results. Guides that are less competitive, and maybe it's by year 10 they start getting better because it takes them longer. They're not driven to get that process in. So yeah, I think that there's truth that you want to see someone successful, and of course we all enjoy it. I think first and foremost there has to be that drive to see success yourself, because regardless of what the customer's measure of success is, like maybe I'm used to getting our limit of Chinook every day, and here you're allowed 2 per person per day, and 4 is your carrying limit. So if someone comes up for a 3-day trip, I want to make sure that the whole group gets their limit of Chinook salmon. But maybe the group says, we don't really care, we just want to catch a fish or 2. As a guide, I mean, it's nice hearing that in the sense that there's no pressure, but at the same time you're like, yeah, but I still want a challenge. And I still, you still want to challenge yourself. So if the morning goes along and you're catching a bunch of fish and the fishing's just crazy good, and maybe you catch some bigger fish than normal, and the client's like, this is so cool, and smiley pictures, but doesn't really get it. In some ways, as a really good fisherman, you're like, like, it's cool
the good
to have
fish.
fun, but I want someone who really gets it. So, but yes, at the end of the day, you always want the customer to have fun, and of course, that is something that gives you satisfaction is to see them have fun.
I'd love to dive into, because in that same vein, talk about the outcome for the people, and kind of a twofold question here of how do you communicate that outcome to folks? Of, like you're saying, of are you saying, hey, everyone's going to get their full of fish, or hey, we're going to have a fun day on the boat? You can kind of paint it different ways, but then also, what are you doing to control that outcome? Because this is the type of business where I could spend all my money. We could be out there for a week, and we may get no fish, because that's how fish work, right? And if you advertise it as like, hey, this is the big outcome, you're going to catch all these fish, these kind of things, I might be disappointed. There's this kind of difficult thing of communicating that outcome and then also controlling for it at the same time, not over-promising, right? How do you kind of balance those two when you're working with the clients?
So, I will just let you know that we have a 50 pounds a day guarantee for our charter if you come on a 3-day trip, if you order a silver to signature package. So we have a 50 pounds a day guarantee. So there's, first of all, there is no such thing as not catching a fish for a week. It's
I'm not a good fisherman, Sam. Don't make me feel bad.
Yeah, poor kid is like, oh man.
I got to say, I got a crappy little lake about 20 minutes from me here in Tucson, Arizona, and I've fished at it for probably about 24 hours or so collectively, and I caught a snail once. That's about it. So that is where I'm coming from. I'm sorry to put that on you. That is my background, not yours.
It's all good. So we have a 50 pounds a day guarantee, which we're the only place in the whole world that does that guarantees, and that's during our peak season. But really, I mean, we have the same kind of expectation all year for getting fish, and we actually try and get people that 50 pounds minimum per day, regardless of when they're coming. As far as driving that outcome, I would say that I'm a fairly competitive guy, so for my guides, I want that outcome driven for them too. So yes, it's a balance of being having that customer interaction, asking questions to the customer, being engaged, but also really being engaged in the fishing. And sometimes I tell the customers, and I also tell my guides, it's okay for you to connect with your customers like as you're going out, and then just let them know like, hey, when we're fishing, I I'm more focused on getting fish, and
Hmm.
then I can interact with you as later as the trip goes on. But this is kind of how it goes, so they don't think that they're getting ignored or get that feeling of being ignored. Not that they necessarily would, but it's just nice to let them know, like, hey, this is sort of a roadmap of what's going to happen. As far as just driving outcomes, I would say that we're always driven for ourselves. So I've got competitive guides that all want the best outcome, and we all talk about what's going on at the end of the day. And I would say that I'm probably the most competitive of all. So they might beg to differ, but I really like to have not only lots of fish, but also like the size that I'm looking for. So if people say like, "Oh, I caught so many Chinook salmon," which Americans call them kings, and I'm just like,
Thank you for
"Okay,
that.
how big were they?" So it's not just that you caught them. It's like, okay, what are the size? Because rookie guides will come in, or guides less experienced will come in, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, we got our limit." I'm like, "Okay, that's cool," but we have many different sizes of fish here, and so were you getting fish that were bigger, or getting fish that were smaller, just so you could say you got numbers?
Hmm.
So yeah, but I going back to just driving outcomes, we're competitive and just internally driven. So it's not something really that comes from the customer. It's really something that we want to go out every day and do this for ourselves. Because
I,
even
I,
on a day off, we could still go out and fish for ourselves. Which
hmm.
we could work 90 days of summer and still want to go out on that 91st day and go catch fish ourselves. It's crazy, but it's the way it goes.
No, it's not. It's a love for what you do, and uh, I'm reflecting back to a couple of guys that I've known over the years that are professional hunting guides, and it's similar, but generally the hunting guide they're with that client, a longer duration, right? Uh, and one of the things that they get frustrated, they shared with me that they're always frustrated with is the ungrateful or the client who quits. How do you and your team handle those? Because they're probably different, or they are usually different. How do you handle that? Because the client that's like, just take me back. I can see that. Have you had to deal with that?
So no, and the reason being is that we're a lot different than hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, we give people, or we feed people's ADD, in the sense of like there's so much going on around. I don't ever see that someone could be bored unless they really just like video games better than fishing,
Mm.
which I've actually seen happen where a kid came out with his family, and actually it was the mom. The mom was just like super engaged, looking all around, and we were catching fish and having fun, and the kid was just sitting there playing his video game the whole time. And then all of a sudden, this humpback whale comes out of the water and just like, boof, and we're just like, oh wow. The kid comes out, looks at it, and then just goes back to playing his video game. And I'm like, I don't think there's a thing in the world that could, wow you then. But yeah, I think people always have something here to look at, even if for some reason they weren't catching fish as fast as we wanted. But I will say that generally, like our expected outcome is that we we normally get fish on fairly quickly. Now
Mm.
sometimes it could be an hour between a bite, but that's not normal for us, and that would be a very slow day and not something that we would want. Whereas like hunting, you could go for a week before you see your animal, right? So
Oh
it's
yeah.
a lot of time spent, and then the guide really has a lot of time to interact with the client. And if he's not a super talkative guy and doesn't ask the right questions and all that kind of stuff, I can see how it'd be a little bit boring. Whereas out on the boat, there's almost always something going on. So the guide, if he's not the most talkative guy, can still entertain the client with catching a bunch of fish. And I've got a quieter guide that works for me. He's older, but he's an extremely good fisherman, and he entertains the clients more with the catching part. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just thinking, a couple of years ago, I stumbled onto a trip, and the deckhand didn't speak very good English, and that was what he did. Though was he was constantly doing something with the lines that kept us entertained. Whether it was putting
Okay.
a fresh bait out or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
because his Spanish was really good, but English was not. So there wasn't a whole lot of conversations about, hey, what's going on, sort of thing. So yeah, that's a great point in that of how to engage with the client and keep them engaged and keep them happy through that activity. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing to the strengths, not trying to make it fit to, make the old guys really good at fishing, make him a talker. It doesn't make sense, right?
Well, Otis, that actually brings up a good point, and that's another thing we can do, even if the fishing is slow, is keep working the gear and explain to the clients the whole time what we're doing and what the outcome is we're trying to drive from what we're putting down. So that is something where there's always something going on in the boat, no matter what, trying to get that fish to bite. And the more you bring the client into the story of the hunt, like the cooler it is once it happens.
Sam, I'm curious. This is a little bit more on the personal side because it's your preferences. But you talked some about buying back your time as the business grows. Slotting people into those right jobs. So it strikes me from your story, it seems like you love fishing a lot more than you love business and entrepreneurship. Yet you're on a podcast with us right now. You're not out there fishing. You didn't hire somebody to get on the podcast. I would love to talk through just did you get bit? Did you get by that love bug twice? And you're like, okay, I love the business, I love the fishing, I love both, and I enjoy that I get to do both together. Or are you counting down the days till you get to be just out on the boat because that's what you really enjoy? How have you found that path for yourself while you build the business?
Sure. So I would say that I love both. Like, I love being out on the boat, but I also love the business part of it. I don't love everything about the business. Like, I don't like admin.
Yeah.
I like talking. I like the sales part where I'm, talking to people about the especially like the bigger sales. For just a smaller day trip, I really don't find much pleasure in that. And so people could actually come into my office and they could see me as a little bit short sometimes if I'm doing something. What are you offering? Can you go to our website and check it out and then talk to me?
Got an AI chatbot on there. It'll take care of all your questions.
Exactly. So, and that's a system that we're actually building because the way I think, because we've had this podcast delayed a couple of times, when we originally came on, you guys probably heard that I was starting the Masterminds, and then I was also doing ARC trips, which is selling the experience and the accommodation. So I'm still developing ARC trips as far as the platform to sell fishing all around North America, and then also the accommodation part. So I love travel, I love fishing, and I love the experience, and I love people getting out into nature, and so that's a large part of what's driven me. And then also just managing accommodation and using the different engines and having to deal with their support also drove me to say, like, hey, I can create something a lot better that gives people what they expect, like, deliver what's in the pictures, deliver what's listed, and then have support that backs that up so that people get exactly what is promised. And then on the mastermind side, I really love seeing people do what is really, like, develop their personal mission and then figure out what exactly they want to do, because I think that's extremely important. Like, you're doing, or you could be pretty sure you're doing something that's aligned with your personal mission if you're enjoying what you're doing day after day. Like for you guys doing the podcast, I'm sure that it's very close to your personal mission of entertaining other people, bringing new light into things that I guess good businesses, good people out there, and so it's going to be attached very closely to your personal mission. So that's what I am trying to bring into doing masterminds as well. So to me, I love fishing, I love business, and I love seeing people come in, and find their personal mission, and then uh, stay on their personal mission. Because there's too many people out there that really, when they're working in their business, they're like, I'd like to be doing something else. Sometimes it's just a matter of aligning their business with their personal mission, and then they actually start to come alive instead of just um, slogging it out and I guess reaching burnout or exhaustion from doing something that they're not really aligned with. And for some people, that means quitting doing exactly what you're doing and going and actually doing the thing that makes you come alive, which is all questions I've had many times during the way for myself. Like,
Yeah.
is this, aligned with what I really want to do? And so I've had to tweak and adjust it. And that's actually why uh, we didn't do masterminds this summer. I was too busy building our trips, but we're planning to do masterminds for next summer. And it's something that I'm extremely excited about because I love helping other people. And I would say that that's the thing that is the driver for me. It's not just business. It's seeing people really come alive and attached to their mission.
All right, you set me up. I didn't have to come up with an Otis segue, which I've been thinking about for like the last 15 minutes of how to get into the mastermind part. So making it easy for me. I appreciate that. Just because you're a damn good guide. That must be it. There's a validation right there, dude.
Knows where the fish are, knows where the questions are. Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, knows where the honey hole is. That's him. But here's what keeps popping into my head. I'm out there on the boat with a bunch of other businessmen in 8-foot swells trying to catch fish and do mastermind. Are we talking about a little bit different? Give us the how of the mastermind, please.
Yes. So the mastermind is designed so that as soon as you come in, you're connected with the people that you're going to be spending the mastermind with. And then the focus and the goals are all set out to start off with. We don't just start out with fishing. So when you go out on the boat, you're going to be doing things like, taking a stone from the beach, which is a belief you've held on to, and you're going to be dropping it in the water, is something that's symbolic. And so the whole time on the water, you're not just catching fish, you're actually thinking about changing things in your life to impact the rest of essentially your course and change direction in your course, whether it's just slightly or whether it's monumental. So I think that's what it is. It's not just fishing, because I love fishing, but I love fishing if it can help direct people to go in a different direction, and that's or in the direction that they're truly called or feel called to go. Mm-hmm. And I would say that I just love going out on the water, but I don't just love going out on the water and catching people their fish so that they can eat or not eat, because not everybody that comes with us makes use of their fish, which is sad, because it's the best meat in the world. Mm-hmm. It's organic cold water meat, which is amazing. You can't
wild caught salmon. It's phenomenal, folks.
Yeah. So, but I love seeing people transformed, and so I decided, like, okay, I love fishing. How do I use fishing to be something that still helps people and bringing transformation? And so people that are coming out don't have to love fishing necessarily. They don't have to be this hardcore fisherman that looks at big fish pictures all day and has has a fishing rod in their living room and they think about, reeling in all the time. Um, they can be someone that just is like, oh, you know what? I love nature and I love, certain aspects of going out on the water. And so it's the whole experience that's brought into that will drive, ideas and thoughts that they didn't know that they actually had.
Talking about getting all those ideas out, and thank you again. Gosh, he's setting us right up for these segues, Dan. Perfect. Well, we'll keep you on the show, Sam. I'll be the third host. But our longtime fans will recognize this. We had an old free tool that we put out, old lead magnet, that was called the Fishing Advantage. And basically what it was is it was a time audit, work through your schedule and find time to do the thing you enjoy. The example for the thing you enjoyed was fishing. And, even if you're at a crappy lake in Tucson, there is something that you get out of it. Even if you're not catching the fish, being out there is nice. So I want to zoom in on the fishing aspect specifically, not just, hey, what's the value of, getting out and doing what you enjoy, but I want you to make a case. I know this is a fastball right down the middle, but I want you to make the case for spending that extra 2 hours fishing and what that can do for a CEO's mindset or for somebody's mental health, all those different aspects there.
Sure. So when you get outside of your normal box, whatever it is, and you've already been, we've already been given something, or some things that you'd like to work on or thinking through, then when you're out there on the boat, you can use examples from what's happening on the boat to look and say, like, hey, here's a different mental model you could use than the one you're already using to fix or to get to your outcome that you're looking to get. So oftentimes, if we've got these set mental models as far as how we think something should be, so they're things as far as like faith, different things of what you do when you get up in the morning, or just how you react when someone says something to you that maybe you don't like. You've got these mental models that have served you either well or not well. In a lot of cases, they don't serve us well. And so we need to figure out how to change those. So when you're out on the boat, we can, give people examples of like, hey, here's an alternative mental model that you could use for changing your outcome. So that's when you're in a completely new environment and it's not necessarily business related, then hopefully it helps take people outside of their normal thought pattern in their brain and takes them out to some, the creativity in their brain that can get them somewhere else.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Step away from the screen and your mind will open up to other things.
Yes.
I think that's so true. Yeah. And I tell you what I learned, I think I learned that the successful guides are really there to, there's a competitive edge, but that competitive edge rests in helping others succeed. I think that's,
yes.
I like that. And I hear a lot of similarities. Like I mentioned, the hunting guides that I know, and I've had some very insider information discussions with them. It really comes down to they not only enjoy being out and hunting, but they really enjoy, and they have to, helping someone else succeed. So that's what I learned today. Cam, how about you?
Yeah, for me, actually, same piece of the conversation, talk about the competitive guides. I think the interesting thing, talk about driving the outcomes there is like, Sam, when I asked about driving the outcomes, you weren't like, well, here are all of our metrics and our systems and processes to make sure that everything goes perfectly according to plan. You take the other approach. There's the systems and then there's the people. The same thing happens out coaching rugby. Like, I can tell you every little thing, but it's a certain point where it's like, hey, Dad, do you want to go do this? You going to go hit the breakdown? You going to go do this? You going to catch a fish? Like, all these kind of things. It's like at a certain point, it is just you as the person driving it. And not only does that work well, but also it's that intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic, right? When you have the systems and processes, as soon as the systems are gone, the process fall apart, then all of a sudden that outcome is at risk. If you have the person who is driving that outcome intrinsically, you're going to get much better results much more consistently.
Yes.
Sam, how about you, man? What'd you learn?
I learned that you guys really need to come up to Vancouver Island and go fishing because
100%.
the outdoors here is so spectacular. It's like nothing you've ever seen. and I think it would blow your mind.
No,
I bet it would. You've
no
been
doubt
closer up there,
about
Dad. You've
that.
been
I
to
was,
Alaska.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was. Don't
I'm
worry, I
and
was.
I'm actually not joking about that. It's so spectacular up here that people really just are in awe of all the different conditions they see, light conditions, sun, clouds, fog, everything, so it's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I've been thinking as soon as we started talking, I was like, well, next summer, I wonder what so,
Yeah.
yeah. Sam, how do folks find you, learn more about what y'all got going on, sign up for one of the masterminds you got going on next summer with ARC Trips?
So people can go to samvandervalk.com and find out what I do there through ARC trips and the masterminds, and also fishing. I would prefer to have someone come up on a mastermind. I love the fishing trips. We pretty much sell out of all of our fishing trips, and
Wow.
so I would really like people to come to the mastermind. And it's not just because we sell it on our fishing trip. My mission is really to help people figure out what's core to them and what are the core drivers for them, and help them align to that mission that they already have inside them. And for some people, yes, it's discovering that mission a little bit, but I would love to help you out and bring you to a magical place and set something inside of you that will change the course of your life.
Awesome. Is that open now for next summer? Is that something that folks can start hitting and signing up for now?
Yes. Yep. It is.
Oh, that's great. Great. Sam, thank you so much for your time today. I know it's hard to be sitting in the office and not out on the boat, but we appreciate you taking that time out for us.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you guys having me here, and you guys are very generous and welcoming hosts.
Cam, run us out.
All right. Thank y'all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Sam Vandervalk, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass it along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, that full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again. We'll see you all next time.